7:01 p.m. We'll begin with the roll.
Just bear with me once. I'm trying to find Ellen. I don't see her, but we'll get going. So Alderperson Journey.
Here.
Alderperson Reiki.
Here.
Alderperson Cronin.
Present.
Alderperson Cole.
Here.
Alderperson Posey.
Here.
Alderperson Touche.
Present.
Alderperson Kemp.
Here.
All right. With that, we will move on to item 3, which is public comments. Mr. Sayer, are there any people waiting to speak?
No.
Great. We will move on to item 4, which is approval of minutes from the April 27th, 2020 Common Council meeting. Questions, comments, motions to approve?
Move approval.
Motion by Alder Cole, I think.
Yes.
Second.
Okay. Seconded by Alder Touche. Last chance for corrections on the minutes. Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the April 27th, 2020 Common Council meeting, say aye.
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 Opposed, no?
Nope.
I'm not gonna count that as a no. With that, the minutes are approved, and we'll move on to item 5, which is mayor's business. We have one thing under there, which is a presentation by Dane County Executive Joe Parisi. Mr. Sayer, can you set us up here?
I think so. Joe, if you have the ability just to raise your hand so I know which one is you, which I think I do, but if you could just raise your hand. If you go into the participant tab, on the right side, there should be 3 little dots. Luke, you see which one I'm looking at? That probably is him. I just don't know if it's him. It looks like Scott is here. His
assistant. Yeah, I see Scott.
Okay, I got him. Okay, thank you, Joe. All right, here he comes. Joe, you there?
I am.
All right, it's all yours.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council for having me. I appreciate having a little time to come on and chat with you. I wanted to give you kind of a 30,000 foot update on county pandemic response initiatives and kind of where we're at, and be available for you if you have any questions or any further information you would like from me, either tonight or as a follow-up after the meeting. I'd be happy to do so. Most of you are probably familiar by now with kind of the initial initiatives we took at the onset of the pandemic. We were the first county in the state and the 12th locale in the nation to have a positive COVID test. What that did for us was it woke us up and put us into gear fairly early, which we have all relatively benefited from with our caseload management. We initiated the Emergency Operations Center in Dane County been a couple months ago now, and many of you are probably on our weekly calls that we have coordinating our efforts. We early on declared a state of emergency, not to be confused with the Safer at Home orders. The state of emergency allows the county and municipalities like yourself to be eligible for federal funding and for reimbursements from FEMA. And we recently extended that state of emergency. And I want to take this opportunity to say there was some confusion. Some folks thought by extending the state of emergency, we were extending our local Safer at Home order. And that was not the case. The state of emergency, as you know, is an internal declaration that's necessary to recoup FEMA funds. But I did want to take the opportunity, just because there was some confusion, to clarify for people that that is not what that meant at that time. Some of the things that are impacting folks in the area that I want to mention that we've embarked on, we've transformed the Alliant Energy Center in a number of ways. I mean, unfortunately, just like a lot of businesses, one of the impacts that we had was that basically business shut down at the Alliant Energy Center. No more trade shows, no more conferences or meetings, et cetera. But we have been working with a lot of our community partners to utilize the space. Second Harvest Food Bank has moved a major packing and storage and distribution center into the Alliant Energy Center, not distributing directly to individuals, but from which they pack food and distribute into their food bank. We also have a partnership with Second Harvest and a lot of our local farmers, and this was an initiative that a Verona resident, Marcia Cachetta, had a lot to do with. As you're well aware of Marcia and the work they do at the Badger Prairie Needs Network, which is a county facility that we have invested a lot of money in improvements, and we leased to Badger Prairie Needs Network for $1 a year so that they can serve the community. And through the hard work of Marcia and county folks and a lot of other people who sat around the table, we developed an initiative that will build a bridge between our farmers and growers who have suffered in their supply chains and are having trouble finding markets. I mean, we've seen the heartbreak, already of people dumping milk and people not having markets on one hand. And the other hand, we have 30,000 people in Dane County who have filed for unemployment since the pandemic began. And we have a lot more people on top of the folks who are already struggling who are in need of food right now. So we're investing $3 million in that partnership with Second Harvest and connecting them to our farmers and growers. And they will have a heavy emphasis on providing fresh local food. In order to facilitate that, we have not only had to identify where all the food goes to be processed, because it's not as simple as, as buying directly from the farmers. Milk goes to be turned into cheese, other food goes to be processed. So we had to make those connections to where they go to be processed and buy from those distributors, while at the same time looking for how we could help locally. So the county has leased 3 refrigerated semi-trucks, semi-trailers to be utilized for storage of local products also. And again, that's a $3 million 3-month initiative, and we'll look at if the need still exists and we have the ability to renew that through the rest of the summer. We'll continue to analyze that along the way. But a big thanks to Marcia and the folks at Badger Prairie Needs Network for their help with that. We also have at the Alliant Energy Center, the Saturday Farmers Market that used to be on the square is now being held at the Alliant Energy Center, and people can pre-order from their growers at the Dane County Farmers Market site, and then they can come and pick it up in their cars. Some other initiatives that you may have heard of is that we've looked at the possibility of an alternate care facility / field hospital if it's necessary. We've identified the space at the Alliant Energy Center where that would go in conjunction with the Army Corps of Engineers and the National Guard and our healthcare providers. It's been determined that at this time, we do not have a need to actually stand up the facility. Our safer at home orders that have gone into effect and the willingness of people to adhere to those has done a great job at keeping our numbers relatively low. And our healthcare providers have done a really good job of emptying out a lot of hospital space. So they're at about 60% capacity right now, and they should be recognized and thanked for that, because obviously they're taking quite a financial hit in doing that. So at this point, we haven't had to actually go forward and build the field hospital, but the plans are there. It's turnkey if the need does exist. And you might have seen today on the news that the Alliant Energy Center in one of our new pavilions is now the site of a mass testing exercise. So anyone who wants to be tested can go to the Alliant Energy Center Monday through Saturday from 8 to 4, and it's drive-through. It's painless. They stick a little swab in your nose, and they do the test for you, and they'll get back in 3 to 5 days. And these testing efforts are really crucial to our efforts to move forward in a number of ways. As I said, as far as we know, we're doing well now, especially compared to some of the other areas around Wisconsin and certainly around the nation. But it's because our folks have been working so hard and frankly sacrificing a lot and staying at home. But the one missing piece as far as our being able to really have all the information we'll need to start dialing the economy back up again and opening things up gradually is a broader testing sample. Up to now, it's been a very limited sample of folks. So the more we can test, the better idea we can get of what the entire county looks like as far as COVID. So this is a big step in the right direction today to be able to do that. Another initiative we undertook was the Dane Buy Local Small Business Relief Initiative. While we certainly can't satisfy all the need that's out there, this is an economy that's taken a hit of epic proportions. We have done what we can to help some of our local businesses. Early on, Dane County put $800,000 in a fund for Dane Buy Local that small local businesses could apply to get some business relief. The demand was overwhelming, and so we were able to take $10 million of our Federal CARES Act allotment and put it toward there for a total of $10.8 million. Again, the need is much more than even those types of resources can fit. There's probably close to $30 million in applications right now, but every little bit helps, right? And so being able to get about $11 million into the small business community has been vitally important. So hopefully that, along with the federal programs and other initiatives from the state that come along, will at least be a lifeline to people. It'll certainly won't make people whole, but we want to help as many folks survive as possible. And along those lines, one of the early needs identified is another very crucial piece of infrastructure and a crucial business that is being threatened is childcare. And certainly, again, if we're ever going to start dialing back up the economy when it's safe, folks are going to need safe, effective childcare. And one recent national study looked at across the country at childcare providers and estimated that up to 50% of them could go under during this pandemic. And we just can't let that happen in Dane County. So we've allocated $3.5 million of the federal CARES funding in a grant program for childcare providers. And this allocation will be enough to give every licensed childcare provider in Dane County a grant to help them survive. And so the grants will be based on the size of the providers, their practice that they have. We worked in conjunction with 4C, Community Coordinated Childcare, to identify the need. And there are approximately 500 licensed providers in Dane County, and each one of them will get a grant. And the grants will range from $1,400 to $15,000, depending on the size of the child care provider. And so the input we had from 4C was that this would be enough to help these folks get by, help them so they can open their doors when we're ready to move ahead again. I think I'll mention one more piece of what we've been doing, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions or address any other issues folks have questions about. Again, another piece that's going to be critical to our ability to contain the virus and to eventually reopen our economy is having the ability that when there are positives and when there are clusters that inevitably will present themselves, that we have the ability to contact those people and trace and contact back every single person they've been in contact with. And in addition to that, when someone's positive, to have resources available to them. So if they need to quarantine and they don't have the ability to do so in their current living situation, that we can help them out with that. So we've allocated an additional $700,000 to Public Health Madison-Dane County to hire 8 additional staff people to do tracking, to do assistance for folks who need help quarantining, to do education, and then to have a little funding for some of those things that people might need. If they need help with food, if they need a place to stay for a couple of weeks. So we're putting all the pieces together. I have to say, again, this community has responded incredibly admirably. It's obviously been an extremely, incredibly tough couple of months, and especially on folks who are small business owners, folks who have lost their jobs, folks who are first responders, and people who are still working because they're essential employees, be they EMS responders or grocery store clerks or the like. I can't tell you how much, and I know you share my feelings, they are appreciated and respected. And the philosophy of Dane County and in the public health department, regarding the safer at home and when we dial up and how we dial up is we want to do this right the first time. We don't want to rush ahead too soon only to have another explosion of the virus and have us, right back where we were 2 months ago. That would be devastating, not only for our health, but for our economy. So, everyone who's out there, again, it's so appreciated what you're doing. We understand how challenging it is for every single one of us, and even more so for a lot of people out there. But if we do this right the first time, we're hopeful that once we start dialing back up, if we do that slowly, we won't have to go back to where we were a couple months ago. So again, thank you for having me here. I'd be happy to answer any questions or address any other issues you'd care for me to do.
Thanks. I'm going to make two quick comments, and then I'll turn it over to Alder Kemp, I think, has a question. One, thank you for all the work that the county's doing. It's great. It's great
Pleasure.
to see the county step up. Two, I know I'm not the only person who has this impression, but it does seem like COVID-19 is kind of a dry run for climate change and the climate change crisis. And I'm interested in how the city of Verona can partner with the county on sustainability and to do our part to mitigate the impacts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're facing two crises right now, right? We have one that's really fast moving in real time, the COVID crisis, and we have the climate change crisis, which is moving fairly fast itself. And so, Mr. Mayor, as you probably know, a couple weeks ago, we released our Dane County Climate Action Plan. And I know that Verona is really interested in this and partnering with us on this also. What we're looking at with our climate action plan and our group of local officials to address climate change is the fact that there is a lot we can do at the local level to address climate change. There are a lot of practical actions we can take that will not only reduce our carbon footprint, but are also really good for our economy. Just one quick example, there are numerous ways for local businesses to develop solar power without a penny out of pocket. And there's, for example, there's something called the PACE program, and just kind of the 30,000 foot version of it is if you own a business and you have someone come in, look at if you could have solar power, renewables, and see and get an estimate of what that would save you on your monthly bill. Say that would save you $500 a month on your electric bill. You can get a loan to pay to purchase the solar panels to give you that savings and fix that loan so it only costs you $400 a month. So not only would you be able to pay for that loan with the savings, you could pocket some of the other savings too, and you could pay it back through your property tax bill. That's just one of a number of ways. We kind of look at this as the art of the possible. There are a lot of things that we could do that we all want to do in partnership, and a lot of that is information sharing and looking at ways that we can really make a difference.
I have Alder Kemp and Alder Rieke.
Yes, first, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. We do appreciate it. I also wanted to thank the county for their quick action in reacting to the pandemic. My dad was probably one of the first people infected in the area with COVID, and thankfully he survived, but it was not a good situation. So the reaction of the local governments and the things that we've been doing, I think, have helped certainly. I do have one question. Last week I was in my office here drafting a brief for a case that I have, and I was listening to oral arguments by the Supreme Court. And as you likely know, they're going to be making a decision on Governor Evers' current safe at home order. And so I'm wondering how the county is going to help citizens understand what they should be doing should the Supreme Court overturn his order, and what the local governments could be doing to assist people should the court, in my opinion, make a terrible decision and rescind the governor's order.
Yeah, thank you, Alder Kemp. That's a great question. So for folks watching who may or may not be aware, the legislative leadership has sued the governor to get rid of his authority to have the safer at home guidelines in place. And the Supreme Court will be ruling any day now. I'm almost a little surprised they haven't ruled yet. They could rule in a number of ways. They could uphold his right to have safer at home, and then nothing would change. I think kind of the common feeling out there is that this court will likely overturn his ability. And it's, and there's also a likelihood, and again, this is kind of an educated guess, right? Because we don't know what the court's going to do, but they seem to be, the messaging of the folks looking to overturn it seem to be that this should be regionally decided. So if they do, I share your concern. I hope they personally don't overturn it, because I mean, it's working, you know, and it's important, and we're not out of the woods yet. But if they do overturn it and they leave the local control piece in place, then Dane County, through our public health department, is prepared to issue our local ruling that would continue safer at home in the Dane County region. And we would work with our partners, surrounding counties, to hopefully accomplish the same thing. So when that decision comes down, we will immediately respond in the media, and likely in short order, within a couple hours of it coming down, I would imagine, have a press conference to inform the community about not only the decision that was made and how that impacts us, but what our response will be. Again, if they do strike it down and we have the ability to maintain it locally, that is the direction we're heading in right now. And we would maintain it locally, and then we would go by a set of guidelines that we would lay out for the community that address how, or when and how we would be turning up the dial in a safe way, to look at different marks that we have met, as far as testing, as far as positives, as far as ability to trace, et cetera.
Excellent. Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear. I appreciate it.
Right.
Alder Rieke.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for that update. It was very informative. I am just wondering about the COVID-19 test that you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation. Will there be an antibody test for people who don't have symptoms but believe they may have been infected with COVID-19 back in, say, February or something? And then another question related to that same topic is, will first responders like firefighters who weren't tier 1 originally go through the same avenues as the general population to acquire the test, or will departments have a more structured way for them to be tested as deemed necessary?
Sure. So the first question, the tests that are available at the Alliant Energy Center right now are not the antibody tests. They're just the swab that tells you if you are positive or not right now. I can keep folks posted, you know, as far as if the other tests are going to become available. As far as the avenues for first responders, they can all certainly go there right now if they desire. I don't know, and I can actually get back to you, Alder, if there are any, you know, specific programs aimed at first responders that aren't already in the pipelines. Anything you know, additional coming up, I'd be happy to get back to you.
Other questions for County Executive Parisi? Oh, sorry, Alder Cole.
I wanted to say thank you for getting the testing together for the jail and the Dane County Sheriff's Office, the deputies there. I think that was a really good move since more cases were identified. I didn't know if you had a plan for going forward with testing. Like, are you going to do any additional testing in the jails or in the Sheriff's Office, like on a more regular basis, or is this kind of like a one-time deal?
So the testing in the sheriff's office, my understanding now is that now that they have the baseline, when new people come in, I believe they will be quarantined. And what they're doing now with everyone, but especially when new people come in, they separate people in to minimize their contact. So if there is, you know, any more outbreak, it's contained to a specific area. I know that they're going to be observing people. I don't know off the top of my head if they're actually going to continue testing people as they come in. Certainly if someone turns up positive again, my guess is they would do the whole test. I have to say, you know, I have to give the sheriff and his team a lot of credit to test everyone in that in that jail and only have, in the latest round, 6 people come up positive after that initial. When you look in Kenosha, they tested and it was something like 79 inmates. The sheriff's been doing a really good job. As you may know, they started out the average daily population in the jail before the outbreak was about 750 people. And they have put out an additional somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 people on community supervision. And last time I checked, there were fewer than 500 people in the entire jail system, which for a county of over 500,000, I give the sheriff and the DA and the courts a lot of credit for that. But yeah, they're keeping a very tight eye on them. I don't know what the testing schedule is, but they're very aware of the challenge and very careful when new folks are brought in.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Anything to add, Mr. Parisi?
I don't think so. Thank you again for having me on today, and thank you for everything you all are doing. I know it's a challenge at every level of government to keep the wheels moving because folks depend on us. We have to continue to deliver service, and I really appreciate everything you're doing. And if you have any other questions or need any other information from me, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to respond.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks, Joe. I'm going to demote you back to the audience. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, so Adam, I'm here now. So
Yep. Got it. Oop. Good. He left. Oh, perfect. All right, we're good.
Okay. And the clerk is in attendance. So we will move on to item 6, which is announcements. Anyone from the council have any announcements? Seeing none, we will move on to item 7, which is the administrator's report. Mr. Sayer.
Thank you. So just a few updates tonight. First of all, we have a CDA meeting on May 18th, so a week from today. And then we also have the Common Council meeting on May 26th. Just as a reminder, that's the last Tuesday of the month, not the Monday because of the holiday. A few other updates is staff continues to monitor guidance from the state regarding closures and program adjustments for COVID-19. We are making kind of preparations behind the scene to be ready if there are changes in those orders. So you'll see some work kind of being done around the city related to the rec department and those things. We just want to make sure that we are prepared if those orders change, though if those orders are lifted. So there'll be some activity that you'll notice and see that we're just being proactive and being ready in case that happens because there is interest out there. Obviously, if those orders are lifted, we still have a lot of interest in those recreation programs this summer. So, you know, if you see people working at Fireman's Park, once again, that's why we're just in the process of making sure we're ready to go if that order is changed. We did get 6 proposals back for the Sugar Creek school property. That's why there's a CDA meeting next Monday night. The CDA will be interviewing 4 of the developers that submitted proposals. There'll be a brief presentation by those developers and there'll be some question and answer afterwards for the CDA. Depending on the outcome of that, the CDA might make a recommendation to the council at that meeting or potentially at a future meeting. So there'll be a recommendation regardless coming in the near future to the Common Council on one of those proposals. And then finally, the census is still underway. I think we've been kind of all wrapped up in COVID-19, but the census is still ongoing. It's very important for people to fill that out. People can fill out the census without their census ID right now, online or by phone or by mail. They can mail in the paper questionnaire. The senior center has called their members to remind them to fill out the questionnaire, and the library staff has created a coloring sheet also. That coloring sheet is on their website. It's a really nice job that they did on that to kind of promote awareness, at least amongst children, and it's a nice activity for families to do during this quarantine. As of May 5th, Wisconsin had a response rate of 64.6%. The national response rate was 56.6%. Verona had a response rate of 78%, but we are being beat by Waunakee right now, who had an 82% response rate. So if you see people, encourage them to fill out the census. It's a great activity for parents to do with their kids. I know I did it with my kids, and it's about as entertaining you can get, but at least it was a change of pace. So I'd be happy to answer any questions from the council.
Any question, Alder Journey?
So you said there were 4 proposals for the CDA meeting that are going to take place next Monday night. And I think I had read that there were 6 initially that had come in.
Yes.
So would those other 2 be heard at some time, or are we just down to 4?
So staff did the scoring behind the scenes, and we narrowed the list based upon the scoring of staff. If the CDA desires to hear those proposals in the future, they could. But we used the scoring criteria that was laid out in the proposals to kind of whittle that 6 down to that 4 to make it a more manageable number. But if there is a desire in the future for people to hear that the presentation or interview those developers, that's definitely up to the CDA and the council if you choose to.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Sayer? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 8, which is the engineer's report. Ms. Fisher.
Yeah. So for the well 6 pumping station construction, the sidewalk around the building is scheduled to be poured within the next week. Electrical and communication services are installed to the building, and gas service is expected in the next week or 2. Interior plumbing, electrical, and HVAC are expected to be complete by mid-May. Interior painting is expected to be completed by the 3rd week of May. Startup of the well is expected the 1st week of June. Asphalt paving is expected in late May to June, depending on asphalt supply. For the Verona Area High School construction traffic improvements project, West Verona Avenue outside lanes are closed through the project area, with landscaping and electrical items planned to be completed. Surface asphalt paving on both eastbound and westbound lanes is planned for late this week. Traffic will be shifted so both lanes are on the same side of the road, so each side of pavement can be placed. Once paving is complete, traffic will be placed back into the inside lanes with the outside lanes closed. West End Circle traffic was switched onto the new lower lift of asphalt in northbound/eastbound lanes and will remain for a month or so. Work is beginning to build the new southbound/westbound lanes. Install the remaining utilities and complete underground electrical items. After these items are complete, both lifts of asphalt will be placed on the southbound lanes, and traffic will be then split, which will place them on the appropriate side with lane closure to complete the remaining asphalt paving and restoration items. Road base placement has been completed along Wildcat Way and Stewart Woods Road. Curb and gutter placement, prep and placement of asphalt pavement and sidewalk/restoration items will continue. Work has also begun on 9 Mound Road. Specifically, traffic on 9 Mound Road north of West Verona Avenue has been shifted to the east so that the new turn lane from southbound 9 Mound Road to westbound West Verona Avenue and the west half improvement of 9 Mound Road can be completed. After the west half is completed, traffic will be swapped and work on the east half will be completed. Traffic on 9 Mound Road south of West Verona Avenue remains in its current location with a west side shoulder closure and restricted parking through the work zone. Work will continue on the southbound 9 Mound Road turn lane to the new Stewart Woods Road this week. A road closure to through traffic is planned for next week, and the remaining electrical paving and striping items will be planned to be completed during the closure. Access to business will be maintained. After the closure, restoration will be completed. Work on the side roads, which are Paoli Street, 9 Mound Road intersection, Wall Street, Legion Street, and Westridge Parkway will continue with some shoulder closures or lane shifts. For the County Highway PD construction, Woods Road to County Highway M, the new eastbound lanes are completed with landscaping remaining. Both eastbound and westbound traffic will be moved into the new eastbound lanes this past Friday. Work on the new westbound lanes will begin immediately following the traffic change and is expected to last a couple of months. For the Liberty Park Phase 4 construction, the extension of Liberty Drive and the new section of Ambition Street have base course in place. There are a few underground utilities on the south side of Wayland Road that need to be adjusted. Work may take a pause for a week or so and then start back up with the modification of Wayland Road. And going to say finally, but I have a couple more here. For the Fireman's Park construction, the earthwork contractor placed topsoil in disturbed areas of the basin on Bruce Street. The basin next to the basketball courts is scheduled for final touch-up in the next few days. And the Northern Lights Road utility work is complete. Or actually, the work is ongoing, but Northern Lights Road itself is back open, and landscaping in disturbed areas remains. And finally, Kettle Creek North Phase 3 was slated to start last week, and actually is going to be starting this week for that project as well. So with that, I can take any questions.
Any questions on the engineer's report? Clerk Clark.
Hey, I just have a little question because my son and granddaughter live in that apartment complex there by North Nine Mound and
Sure.
yeah. So I'm kind of wondering how long that's gonna take for that.
I would have to check with Eric Schulz. So he's the one who's got like the best tabs on that project. I can check and let you know.
No, it's okay. It's
You're just curious.
yeah, just curious.
A lot of these are like capital construction projects, so like my involvement is pretty minimal, but I get a lot of the updates from the city staff.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions on the engineer's report? Seeing none, we will move on to item 9, which is committee reports. First up under 9A, we have the Finance Committee. Alder Kemp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to make a motion recommending the council the payment of the bills in the amount of $1,161,858.25.
Motion by Alder Kemp. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Cronin. Alder Kemp.
For the sake of discussion, a number of payments this month. First, there's a payment to AECom in the amount of $111,000 for County Highway PD. We have the payment for Well 6 to Mandrell Excavating in the amount of $215,181.62. We do have a first quarter room tax payment to Destination Madison in the amount of $17,001.47, and also a first quarter payment to the Verona Chamber for room taxes in the amount of $70,000.
You've heard the explanation. Questions, comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll do this one by voice vote. All those in favor of paying the bills in the amount specified, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next, we'll move on to 9A2. Alder Kemp.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to the council for approval of the Small Business COVID-19 Support Program applications. And I should say with the caveat that, first of all, there are 53 applicants that were approved. The total amount going out would be $195,970. And this is, of course, with pending the final review of staff. They would like to go over it one more time.
Motion by Alder Kemp. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Posey. Alder Kemp.
Yes, just for the sake of discussion, the Finance Committee went over these before our meeting tonight. I personally, again, want to take the time to thank the staff for putting this proposal together. We're going through unprecedented times right now. And so the fact that the city was able to turn on a dime to put a package like this together for local businesses is really a good indication of the kind of people that one, work for the city, and two, that they genuinely care about the businesses that are here. What they did, in effect, was go through and look to make sure that the applicants met the necessary criteria. They have determined that these 53 do, in fact, meet the criteria that we established at our last meeting. We did discuss, some of the applications, that were problematic. But this is a good proposal, and I think it does a lot for a lot of the local businesses. It's rare that we're in this kind of a situation, so I do think it's appropriate for us to take the, requisite time to discuss this. If anyone has any questions at this point, I think this is a good time to ask them.
All right, motion before the body. Questions, comments on the motion? I'll just say one thing quick while people are thinking of their questions or comments. I appreciate the work that staff did. I think we're turning this around really fast, at least at least for city government. And I think it's a tough situation because ideally we would just write a check to everybody, just every citizen, every business, and just be like, here you go. But unfortunately, the city doesn't have that kind of money just under the couch cushions. But this is something that I feel like will get us the best bang for the buck, and as a chance to be judicious and careful with public money, but also help as many businesses to try to get through this. Because hopefully it's unprecedented now, and hopefully it'll be another 100 years before anyone has to experience anything like this again. So I'm pretty happy with where we're at. And this does allow us to keep some money in reserve, depending on how long this goes on for and what other help businesses or people might need. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Alder Touche.
I just want to say good job to the city staff and the finance committee that went through this. It's a lot of work and it's not easy to make these decisions. And just thank you. Well done.
Alder Rieke.
Yeah, this was a great program. I'm glad it's working out so well for so many businesses. There was one business that I got a couple of emails about that did not meet the criteria for applying. So is there any way to know now if it will be opened in the future and how far in the future, again, with less strict stipulations?
Ultimately, that's a question for the council to decide. We could basically wait and see. We could put it on the agenda for the next meeting. It's kind of up to what how the council wants to do it. Any follow-up to that, Alder Rieke?
I guess I'm not prepared to propose something right now. I guess if there are other people who think that it would be a good use of more city money to open it up again and maybe keep it between 1,000 and 4,000. I'd be open to that.
Alder Kemp.
Yeah, I think, part of the problem right now is we don't know how long this is going to go. My take on it is let's get through the first round and see how it goes, and then see over the next couple weeks how things work out with respect to testing, whether or not, as we discussed with the county executive, whether or not the safer at home order is going to stand or if it's going to change. There's a lot of moving parts right now. And so I would say let's take some time to take a step back and see what happens. We always have the option, and we're fortunate in that we have the option to go back if we want to go back and make a choice. I don't know if we need to do that yet.
I'll just say I would be open in the future, to opening this up again and just depending on how things go in the future. Hopefully this won't last a long time, but I am pessimistic on how things are going to go in the next few months, but we'll see. Other questions, comments from the council? Seeing none, I'm going to ask the clerk to read the roll on this one.
Are you ready?
Seeing no further discussion, yes.
Okay, so Alder Cronin,
Aye.
Alder Journey? Alder Journey? I can see you. Okay.
There we go.
Alder Kemp? Alder Cole?
Aye.
Alder Posey?
Aye.
Alder Ricky?
Aye.
Alder Touche?
Aye.
All right. We're all good.
And that motion passes. Anything further from finance, Alder Kemp?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we'll move on to 9B Plan Commission, Alder Cole.
Thank you. I am making a motion to approve resolution number R-20-017, approving a certified survey map to create 2 lots located at 421 South 9 Mound Road and 408 Venture Court.
Motion by Alder Cole. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Journey, I think. Alder Cole.
Thank you. The proposed certified survey map would create 2 lots from the existing 2 lots and 1 outlot. This would create 1 lot fronting onto South 9 Mound Road and another lot fronting on Venture Court. The Plan Commission voted 7-0 to recommend this approval at our Plan Commission meeting.
You've heard the explanation. Questions, comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll do this one by voice vote. All those in favor of resolution R-20-017, approving a certified survey map to create 2 lots located at 421 South 9 Mound Road and 408 Venture Court, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Anything further from Plan Commission, Alder Cole?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item 10, which is new business. First up, we have discussion and possible action regarding a second amendment to the lease agreement between the City of Rona and U.S. Cellular Operating Company, LLC, for the Country View Water Tower at 1252 Hemlock Drive. Mr. Sayer.
Thank you. So this is for a lease amendment that would allow U.S. Cellular to modify their equipment on the city water tower located at 1252 Hemlock Drive. The original lease with U.S. Cellular allowed up to 12 antennas and 18 coax cables. With this modification, U.S. Cellular will have 9 antennas and 9 coax cables on the tower. So they're actually going to have less equipment on there than what we initially had planned on when the lease was originally approved. The city attorney and engineering consultant have reviewed the lease and drawings and have no concerns with modifications. Staff recommends approval of the second amendment to the lease located at 1252 Hemlock Drive.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Cole.
I'll make a motion to approve the second amendment to lease the agreement between the City of Verona and U.S. Cellular Operating Company, LLC, for the Country View Water Tower at 1252 Hemlock Drive.
Motion by Alder Cole. Is there a second? Seconded by Alder Kemp, I think. Anything to add, Alder Cole?
No, thank you.
Motion before the body. Questions, comments on the motion? Seeing none, we'll do this one by voice vote. All those in favor of approving the second amendment to the lease agreement between the City of Verona and U.S. Cellular Operating Company, LLC, for the Country View Water Tower at 1252 Hemlock Drive, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next up, we have under new business, we have 10B, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the agreement for the City of Verona Fire Chief position. Mr. Sayer.
Thank you. So the Police and Fire Commission met tonight and approved appointing Dan Mahaka as the new fire chief for the city. So before tonight's meeting, I did email the draft employment agreement between the city and Dan Mahaka. As part of the hiring process, city staff completed the background and reference checks on Dan, and we found no issues with that background check. and staff recommends the council approve the employment agreement that was emailed you tonight with Dan. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the council regarding that employment agreement.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item?
I think Evan.
Alder Touche.
I'm going to make a motion to move approving this agreement.
Motion by Alder Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Cronin. Anything to add, Alder Touche?
I'm very happy to see this position finally get filled, and I appreciate what the Police and Fire Commission has done to make the best possible decision.
Motion before the body. Questions, comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll do this one by voice vote. All those in favor of approving the agreement for the City of Verona Fire Chief position as presented in the packet, or as presented by Mr. Sayer, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Congrats to Chief Mahaka, and thank you to the PFC. Like Alder Touche said, it's a lot of work to wade through the hiring process, and I'm glad to see the position filled. Let's see. We are on to 10C, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the appointment of the District 2 alderperson. Mr. Sayer.
So, two candidates, Dennis Bears and Charlie Ryan, made presentations to the Common Council on April 27th regarding their interest in the District 2 alderperson vacancy. The council has the ability to appoint either Dennis Bears or Charlie Ryan to fill the remainder of the current District 2 alderperson term, which runs through April 20th of 2021. This would require a motion by someone in a second, or a nomination, I believe. And then this is a simple majority, if I'm not mistaken. City Clerk Clark, yes, okay.
Simple majority.
Question for Clerk Clark. Can we just read the roll and have people say who they would, who their preferred candidate is, and then go from there, and then whoever is the majority do the motion?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay. I guess I will open it up for discussion. If anyone wants to make a statement any which way, now would be the time to do so. Alder Kemp.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank both of the candidates for the time that they took. I think they both have a lot to offer to the council. You know, we were presented with obviously well thought out and well considered presentations by both of them. So I wanted to thank them for their time. Obviously, either one of them I think would do a good job on the council. Both of them have, you know, the requisite experience to do the job. So I just wanted to take the time to thank them.
Any further discussion on this item? Sorry, Alder Touche.
You know, I'm used to a little more discussion on this. Obviously, people have already made decisions. I can tell you this has not been easy. I think both candidates have a lot to offer. I really liked that Charlie was interested in running again. I certainly like what he's doing for the community and society in general. I think that's important stuff. I keep thinking about the school district, and you know, we're wrapping up the work we're doing with the school. There's a legacy with what the city's inheriting relative to the school, and part of me is leaning towards Denny because of that history. I think there's a short chance, a short time period this next year, that Denny can help the city and the school kind of bridge the two communities or two organizations a little better. Denny definitely understands how the school board works. Obviously, he's been a member for a long time. And it's also, you know, it's a 1 year thing for him, or a little less than that now. But so with that, you know, that's really what swayed me. And so what I'm just thinking out loud here, like I normally do, but you know, I'm going to be voting for Denny this time around. But hearing that Charlie's interested in running, I think it's a great opportunity for him to join us in the future. So, you know, my vote's going for Denny. Thank you.
Alder Ricky.
Yeah, I just also wanted to thank both. I would be really pleased to have either of them join the council. And I just also, my decision is to vote for Charlie Ryan, I guess, is more because he plans to run again. I guess that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess. But I would be pleased with Denny's participation on the council as well. I think both of them would have really valuable input. So thanks again for applying.
Alder Cole.
Thank you. As whoever gets chosen would be, you know, my co-alder in our district. I gave a lot of careful consideration to both candidates, and I think they're both great, have a lot to offer. That being said, I'm looking into the future as far as longevity is concerned. So again, I think like Heather said, for me, it was kind of like the deciding factor was the fact that Charlie was interested in running again and continuing to go forward. I would like to see somebody who stay around for a while and help move, you know, the council forward. I think he has a lot to offer. I think Denny has a lot to offer too. But like Alder Ricky said, the deciding factor for me, I think, was the willingness to run again and be on the council for longer than like a year.
Any further discussion from the council? Seeing no further discussion, if the clerk would read the roll and if people would state their preferred candidate.
Sure. The last two votes were voice votes, which was a surprise to me. So
sorry.
No, that's okay. So Alderperson Journey, what is your choice?
Charlie Ryan.
Ryan. Alderperson Kemp.
Charlie Ryan.
Alderperson Cole.
Charlie Ryan.
Alderperson Posey.
Charlie Ryan.
Alderperson Reiki.
Charlie Ryan.
Alderperson Touche. Alderperson Touche.
Did we lose Evan?
We might have lost him. We can't hear you, Evan. So he's been having some internet issues.
Okay.
Well, I think he made his preference known earlier, so I think
his preference was Denny.
yeah. So we would count that. I think
that's what I'll do. Alderperson Cronin.
Charlie Ryan.
Okay, I have 6 for Charlie Ryan and 1 for Dennis Spears. So then, proceeding forward, would we do a motion then, Clerk?
I think yes, we should have a motion.
Alder Cole.
I will make a motion to appoint Charlie Ryan as District 2 Alderperson for the city of Verona.
Motion by Alder Cole. Is there a second? Seconded by, or excuse me, seconded by Alder Cronin. All those in favor of appointing Charlie Ryan to the council seat, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Ryan. You'll be sworn in at the next council meeting. With that, we will move on to item 11, adjournment. A motion to adjourn would be in order.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Alder Cronin. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Kemp. I think he was a little bit faster. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And we are adjourned at 8:01 p.m. Thank you.